Where are we?
Militia.
We're in Greenville, Tennessee. We're in Greenville, Tennessee.
Beautiful Tennessee.
Which is your first introduction into the world, the South.
Yeah.
Have you been to Latin America?
No,
Okay.
no, I haven't. I almost went during the first COVID. I had the plan to go to Uruguay, kind of going through Argentina and then going to Uruguay. But then, and it was still a plan when they locked. There was like, I was looking for the last airports open because Greek one was closed. And there was one open in Milan. And I was like, yep, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go. And then I thought, oh my God, what if I'm stuck? Who knows how long it's going to last? And then I'm in Uruguay.
Well, even better, you're in Greenville, Tennessee. With cows in Greenville, Tennessee?
A lot of cows and a lot of people who have cows.
So she was thrown off a bit because this is deep south. It's very rural. We're 30 minutes from the nearest Planet Fitness, which makes both of us the...
Fittest.
Oh, God, I don't even know. We're Olympians here. If there was some sort of county-sponsored team, we'd be the coaches, the all-stars, the water boys, just about everything we could commit. They can't catch us physically.
The only kind of benefit they have over us is guns. We don't have that.
Right, I'm not faster than a speeding bullet. You know who else isn't? The inmate who broke out when he was transported here, and is the reason that when we arrived here, and I'm taking her down a trip to downtown.
After a beautiful Asheville, very, very cozy mountainous town, and then an hour away is this.
It's a beat down working person's area. There's not new blood moving here.
Yeah, working persons, but also you're not sure where they work exactly.
A lot of welfare, but also, yeah, I mean, there are trailers here that are just tin boxes.
And then there are $2 million houses as well.
Welcome to America, babe.
Ew.
So we were driving to go downtown, and I didn't even flip the switch. I don't give a shit anymore. I don't care about any of you guys. We were trying to go downtown, and there was a detour with all these cop cars, which was interesting. Take a detour, and then we're sitting behind what looks to be a 1995 Chrysler Town & Country van in a color, I'm repeating a bit, that got canceled earlier. It's a color that only is made, and viewers know this, that is only made in poor white communities. That car does not exist in California. That car, that ugly rust.
Is it just the color?
Yeah. It's
or
that
also like the people inside?
Those are God-fearing Americans inside of that car. That was like a clown car patriotism, because the trunk was open while it was driving, the slide doors were open, and in it, we were the only ones behind them, I see our 8 heavily armed men and women, maybe, but I couldn't see all of them. Also, my contacts are bad. In camo, AR-15s, full kitted out. We thought it was town militia because it took me a while to see the FBI lightly behind, which they could have painted on, for all I know.
Yeah, they should have it in neon.
Yeah. Well, here's the...
For those undercover operations they're going in, they should have it beaming.
It is hilarious that they picked that car for the undercover operation.
It really blended into the facade of the whole town.
It did until they opened all 3 doors. And I saw 7 of them.
Yeah, and I saw like knees and guns sticking out from the sides.
They were only going like 10 miles an hour.
Once again, it was funny. I'm going to repeat what I said when nobody could record me. Militia. When you mentioned militia, and you kept on saying this for the past few days, and I always kept on wondering what exactly do you mean by militia? Because in Ukraine, militia are people who are like a neighborhood watch. They're being, they notify the authority that they're doing this. They don't carry guns though. Like nobody, if you're not, you can if you have a license, but it's very hard to get a license.
You just have a group of 8 people with cell phones? Or in your case, rolls of quarters for the payphone?
They just have little jars and a little string attached.
But if it's been more than an hour, they all get thirsty and they're like, I can save 3 quarters to go.
And buy the 2-liter plastic beer bottle.
Plastic bottle of beer. And then they get hammered, and then they get paranoid, and they're like, somebody call cop, I hear a criminal nearby, and it's just them chasing each other in a circle the whole time. And the cops are like, haha, it's silly.
So what exactly is militia?
A militia? Alright, so I'm going to give it 2 answers. Here's the real answer. A militia, as in the Constitution, a well-regulated militia, would be something akin to that, where your weapons usually stored at a singular facility. You retrieve them when, like, town bell is called, and the trained individuals get together, and then they carry out a mission. Looser than that would be you have your weapons at your home. You have some sort of training and or authority under the sheriff of the county. You meet up and you take your target. Looser than that, it was kind of just used to...
Every single American who has guns.
It was kind of used to just beat up minorities for a while, up until maybe the 70s. Unless you're in certain areas of the country, then, you know, all games are on. And then more loose than that, it just means the guys at the bar together having a good time who don't like someone, and they have guns, and they get together. So... has authority given them weapons? Yes. A, that would be the Constitution, the Second Amendment, Lisa. B, they respond to the Lord, Jesus Christ, our Savior. So that's all the reason they need.
Talking about the Lord, driving around, I did notice the amount of churches in
Had to
that
be
little
20.
city. I don't know how many, is it like 7,000 people in Greenville, Tennessee?
If that. There's definitely...
And
there's
I
more
think
churches
maybe
than grocery
3
stores.
gas stations, maybe 2 Bojangles, a couple Arby's, 1 grocery store, another grocery outlet, 3 tobacco outlets, which is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Like, what do you mean discounted tobacco? Is it expired? Why is it discounted? Do they... I don't want to think. I don't know. I haven't seen that ever before in my life, the discounted outlet tobacco stores. But then the churches, it's been how many? 40?
About 40. Well, that's where the
40.
conversation of militia came out of, because as you've been taking your photos, we took photos of churches, but first you took pictures of what I can only describe as a scene out of the first season of True Detective, where they wander into like a swamp and there's homemade voodoo dolls out of like straw. There's like a woman with one eye, and she's like, they got that voodoo out there in the backyard. And it was kind of like that, except it was just somebody's barn right by the road. And we slowed down. Liza took her sweet time with her camera playing around, took a picture of the manger.
The manger was on top of the barn.
It was carved out
It
of
was
the
on
side
the
of the barn.
roof.
They like
It was
broke.
carved out?
Well, they broke paneling out of that barn.
I thought they built a special roof floor for it.
No, they built a barn, and then they broke out part of the wall so everybody could see,
Their beautiful Jesus.
which is going to collapse in 2 years because
Gorgeous.
there's no maintenance being done there.
Oh no. Did you see the cars around and the actual house, everything?
Yes, I saw all of it because I was watching
God wasn't there.
I did say earlier, for a city of 40 churches, I have never felt a place more abandoned by the gaze of God in my life. And I lived in New York. Hey, yo. But we took a photo. I am some would say, a paranoid individual.
Some would. But not all.
Not all. Those who don't know me. I haven't slept much since we've been here. Realizing that, baby, I'm not quite as much of a country boy as I thought. I tried to be country boy when I was here. I was trying to be country boy Dennison. Country boy Dennison came in here. Country boy Dennison cannot sleep at night.
Country boy Dennison misses his internet connection.
Oh, country girl Liza misses her internet connection. I've been doing just okay with my Kindle books.
You
I've been
have no
enjoying it.
Kindle.
No, my spooky stories to scare in the dark. I've been having so many strokes at the show. Ah. That kind of reminds me of the
That's
Kevin.
how you wake up every day.
That is, I choke awake.
I hear you from behind the door.
I choke awake. That is exactly. It's really. I
it
choke
wakes
awake.
me up.
Yeah. Well, how do you think I feel? Every morning, this is how I
must
wake
feel
up.
awkward. I don't want to walk in there and see.
My dream's never complete. I think for a lot of people, you're dreaming, right? And then the dream is wrapping up. Then you wake up kind of organically.
Yeah.
What happens with me is, dead in the middle of a dream, I reach a terrifying climax. Whether that's me being murdered, me seeing a murder. I swear to...
It's good. It's on.
Why would it have never been switched off?
I drank.
I'm gonna wake up right now. I'm gonna choke awake right now. God save me. I wake up in the middle of a dream, and it's always horrific. Like the recent one the night ago, I saw a fat man being run over by a train. It wasn't as funny as you think. It wasn't a Kevin Smith movie. Not Kevin Smith. Who's the other fat? Who's called Blart Mart? Blart? Mall Blart Cop Mart? Paul Blart Mart? Paul Blart Mart. Paul Blart Mart Cop.
Oh no.
Cop Blart Marplot. Kevin James. Cop Blart Marplot. And so Cop Blart Marplot, there was a
Stop!
big fat
Please
man.
stop! I will never wake up.
This is how we got confessions out of all the 9/11 hijackers.
But so just to kind of summarize your hysteric stroke, when I took the picture of the manger, and I couldn't get the good one because I was still, in the back of my head, I was also paranoid because looking around that place, I started to work up some anxiety about that whole thing. Trademark, not my quote. So, as I was taking a picture of that manger, is it manger?
Yeah.
And I was flipping the cameras, and there was a car, obviously, immediately in the middle of nowhere of the fields with one house for the 50 miles radius. The car comes out, it's a double lane, Dennison goes like this, says, okay, pass. They don't. He does it again, they pass. I don't take the second picture because it's already too much. We leave. And then we turn on the next turn, we turn into the church that has a playground right in front of the graveyard, and there's also like a basketball court.
It's
right in
hilarious
front
because
of
the basketball hoop is 3
sign
feet
up,
away.
You know, to see the pictures soon enough.
The basketball hoop is 3 feet away from 4 gravestones. It's right at the edge.
It's beautiful.
And if
it's
you've
gorgeous.
seen this area, nobody here is Ray Allen. These people are throwing bricks left and right. They're throwing enough bricks. She doesn't get basketball references. They're throwing enough bricks to completely plot that graveyard. For every brick, one old person died of diabetes and landed a tombstone that says the Millers on it. So it is hilarious.
It's beautiful. It was a beautiful photo. So it had a little parking lot bigger than the church, and so we pull in. The moment I look down to take my camera, Dennison goes, "Oh no, I fucking knew it." And I turn around and there is a car pulling in right next to us and looking right at us. And I'm very confused because I'm thinking it's probably the people from the manger house trying to get back to us because we don't have the Tennessee plates. But then he figured out, and he looked and observed the whole thing, that those were the people whom we let go. And then they went and turned around and followed us and then stopped, looked us in the eye, and then left, just like that. And at first I thought it was just because this is the area. Until today, it doesn't really make me feel relaxed. I don't want to go into many shops. I don't want to.
Well, it's great that you. Here's the pleasure of not wanting to go in a lot of shops. Not one to go into, is there? We tried.
Shops, I meant like a cafe or a little mom and pop store. I don't really want to go and speak with an accent because it feels like this is a place where people don't enjoy them very much.
Fair.
And also, it's good that you explained it because, again, it wasn't the person from the house.
No, but so how we got...
So what was your reason?
Well, remember, so this is how we got on this topic because this is why we're, great podcasters. Podcastet? Podcastian?
Clap here because this needs
I won't.
to go.
I can do whatever I want. This is my show. I do the editing. For all you know, every time I edit, I just superimpose big ball sack over your face. I make fart sound. I just did 12 right there. Ready? I added a wet one. So anyways, the reason that we started talking about this militia, do you remember why we started talking about it? Was because... The hell? Because what we realized, or remembered, is that there's a inmate on the loose.
Oh, fuck, yes.
So a man, look at that, she was mad at me for no reason for the past 45 seconds as I rambled back to my point. And I've been having strokes, and I have a way to get back to that too. I had a point. And anyways, the reason we saw the FBI, because I Googled it that night, was in this town, because some people who were driving him are fucking stupid. They were transporting, it was the Kentuckians. They were transporting an inmate from Kentucky to here on over 12 counts of rape, sexual assault, child pornography, and child rape. It wasn't, I read the article, he was in trouble for sexually assaulting adults, which the police ignored. They have a lawsuit against the county, a DA, a female DA, who was representing him was suing Johnson County, of which he was part of, because he was like a businessman. Well, it's so funny. I gotta say this. I'm sorry, South. I've lived here. I like it. When your article just says successful businessman and nothing else, I was like, did he own like a used sporting goods store? Like they made him sound like he was some pioneer of industry. He had a meth charge from like 2008, 12 ounces of meth. So he had all sorts of trouble, but it was the child rape charges. And as Liza knows, I have, some would say, an unhealthy obsession. I say preparedness.
Oh, please finish the sentence really quick right now.
For prisons. Not.
Don't
Anyways,
just move on.
So I know, as many viewers would know, in the American prison system, there's two things you don't want to be: a rat and a pedophile, because you will get whatever you did outside is going to get done to you, and even worse. Mm-hmm. So your best bet, really, if you're a child molester or a pedophile and you're convicted, is unfortunately either you go into solitary or you kill yourself. Those are your options. So
or run in the option of this fella.
So he picked that option. He manages to kick. They say he frees his restraints by using the headrest somehow. Then he kicks out the back window, and they don't know until they park to get him into the jail. So
wait, they wanted to park?
No, like they
wait, they didn't notice?
No, that's what I'm saying. They drove from Kentucky.
He probably had earbuds.
He's probably fat. He's probably just bumbling about, and he got out and he's like, whoa! And they said he was covered in blood when they saw the guy because he kicked down the windshield. So they saw him somewhere in Greenville.
Oh, so they did see him.
He went to a lady's house, but they didn't quite know who he was, even though he's wearing a tan jumper, and he's covered in blood. So yeah, he's out on the loose. So that's what we realized.
That really gives you a picture of that place.
That was our first night here.
He blended in just fine. It's probably the jumper color.
And I was close, because I said it's got to be traffickers. It's usually drug traffickers in a small town that big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you thought it was a big bust.
Yeah, or it's gang activity, or basically just escaped convict. That's all you can have. Just escaped convict. He has not been caught yet. And he better not come around here, because I can't sleep. So I'm going to know. Also, if I shave my face, I kind of look like a hot teen. And but I don't got the holes in one. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm 31 years old. I grew up on a Midwest diet.
No.
So, you don't want to be in these territories. Now you're with me.
Yeah.
As Rorschach says, you will not be locked here in with me. I am in here with you. I'm not here with you locked in. You're locked in here with me. That's from Paul Blart Mart 3. Kevin James's magnum opus, Cop Mall Cop Blart 3.
I just had a minute of sounds.
No, these are real movies.
What are those
Paul Blart
words you just made?
Paul Blart. We'll look it up.
Stop saying this.
But that's the South. So we're here, we're queer, and we have no fear. But
I have a lot of fear. I just don't like it at all.
The thing that strikes me the most that because we're going to have a thing where people get mad at us. This is where I do the thing where I talk about how I think that small towns in the South get wildly disrespected because, especially when it comes to voting, people accuse communities like this of being ignorant and dumb and whatever else.
Which is true.
But you go there and you realize
they
have very little chances. There's nobody helping these communities. The people who are staying here aren't staying here because
they were born here.
Probably because they're born here. No new money's coming here. No new jobs are coming here. The factory jobs that did help build these places decades ago were taken by politicians.
The cute factory here. So we're in Planet Fitness, and there's this beautiful lady with really, really white teeth.
She had veneers.
Really, really white fake teeth. And she's about 65 years old, working at Planet Fitness. And so
that's what happens when you live next to a penny factory.
And I had no idea that Dennison has already told her that I am from Ukraine. But she goes.
Let me just say I didn't say she's Ukrainian. She said, and now where might that pretty little accent be from? And I said, that fucking sewer mouth? Ugh! Ukraine.
So she explains about the city. We ask some recommendations. We ask what's going on in here. It was the very first day we were here, the very first morning we woke up. And she says, well, like the town is growing, it's good, like it's booming. She referred to Chattanooga as the big city.
Yeah, well, I said I used to live in Chattanooga, and she was like, well, we don't have everything like the big cities do. Chattanooga has about 150,000 people.
Yeah, so, and then she goes, but we have this factory. All the coins, like what is it, quarters or nickels?
Pennies.
Pennies. Pennies, like what, 1 cent?
The penny is 1 cent, and then the criticism of the penny is what she brought up, which is that it costs more nowadays to make a penny than a penny is worth, and it used to be made out of copper, but some cool guys figured out that you can melt down copper and sell it for cash quick when you might need heroin. So now they're not made of copper. Because a bunch of cool guys ruined that for us too.
So she goes, and we have this big factory that makes all the pennies, and also, I remember, like, didn't Ukraine release the new coin like 3 years ago? I'm like, oh fuck, like, I don't even know, how do you know? I guess that's the news, I bet you they put it in the news, in the papers here. Ukraine has a new coin, breaking news. What the fuck?
Well, I like that story
It's such
because
a strange report to have for a person in, Planet Fitness in Tennessee. Like, it's just so random. It's the most random fact that you can possibly know.
I'll say 3 things.
And it's also modern. It's not historic fact. It's just so modern and so random.
I'll say 3 things.
Say
1,
them.
that's what I always say about when Americans meet someone from a foreign country, do I not? I have a bit about it, which is we desperately try to find a way to relate, and we don't have many because we don't know, especially in a small town. So I thought that was adorable. 2, it is big news in a small town like this. You have pride
I'm not
over
sure she
something
worked
like
at
that.
this factory.
She said she did. She
before.
worked in purchasing. You don't listen to people. She worked in the purchasing
I wasn't
department.
there. I was figuring out if solarium is good for my skin, and apparently it's not. But they didn't let me
The
know.
movie. And then 3, that is small towns live. This is why I do it. And go back to my initial thing to clear that up before people get mad. Is why I get defensive about small towns like this. Is that they have many of the similar disadvantages as do poor urban communities, which get more of a pass from the left, of which I am a part of. And it's very easy for us to be like, because I'm from Cleveland, and I've been in the ghetto, and I've hung out in the ghetto, and I've done drugs in the ghetto, with people from the ghetto. And when you go through there, as you've driven through East Cleveland with me, you can see instantly, it's like you were born in a different country. I was born in a wealthy area of West Cleveland. My family is well off. I had a good life. If you grew up in my home 30 minutes away from the ghetto, it's almost like you grew up in a different world. And you look at the ghetto and you drive through and you say, this is obvious to me why crime has a huge disparity. A lot of these places are abandoned. They're not getting the help they need. There is no community here that's being uplifted. This is a very tough way to grow up.
Mm-hmm.
Then you come to a community like this, and it's hard not to feel the same thing, if not more so, because the nearest city is 1 hour away. Excuse me. So you drive through here, and there is frustration, depending on how you vote, when you look at a community like this, and you want to say, you're voting for people that are not helping you. And it's very obvious they're not helping you. It's very obvious. I wrote a report on this. We kind of talked about it in the Jason podcast, about how Republican senators in particular had completely stripped funding from public schools and public programs, and kept giving money back to the wrong people. And the promise was, we're going to bring jobs back to you in coal and factories, but those jobs have been gone for 30, 40 years, and they were pushed away. And it's very sad. And people are here waiting, hope on hope. But you go to this community and you're like, oh, there's no external interaction. This place has been abandoned. It's going to take a person here, your nearest city is Knoxville or Asheville, that's 1 hour. So who are you ever going to meet? All you meet is people from here. It's completely poor, you feel abandoned. Of course they're angry. They don't have good schools. They don't have great jobs or money. They're bombarded by news all day that is here to brainwash them. It's like, yeah, of course they voted a certain way. So you sit in the city like, you're in an apartment in Brooklyn, and you're foaming at the mouth over how the rest of the country votes. You've never been there. And then you come here, and do you think that you could think critically if you go back to that home, and we've seen some of the homes here, you go back to that, in that car, with that job, with that amount of money, the amount of kids you're raising, trying to live a good life, you don't have the time to critically think like that.
But it's also, traveling through, it made me realize how strange. The United States economic system correlates with the United States kind of social condition. Because you would think, right, like, if it's like one country, then the level of production kind of correlates to like, supply, demand, workforce, basic salary, all that. And it's usually just kind of it all makes sense a little bit. It rarely does nowadays, unfortunately. But you somehow can see it. So here in the United States, even though being one country, it's still, different states, different rules, different production, different economies, different laws. I would imagine that people here would have access to more accessible, produce and more accessible gas and more accessible healthcare. But no, it's exactly the same. Everything is priced exactly the same as in any other state we pass through. But in a community like this, it's just really surprising to me how people can afford things.
Yeah.
Here, on the salary that they have.
Well, they can.
It's surprising. Like the basic, like even just the grocery store bill was pretty much the same as in any other place. Even again, it was very similar to Californian bill. Maybe meat was a bit cheaper, but it's, again, those basic necessities of people. How are they covered? What does the state do? I kind of want to look it up a little bit more.
Well, it's even worse here because Tennessee has no state income tax. So, and I lived here during COVID. So the benefit for somebody like me who had a good salary paying job was I took home more money and I had health insurance through my job. When there's no state income tax, that means wealthy areas have good things. No state income tax means the state isn't providing money back to your community. So in a community like here, if you're not rich, you don't have good public utilities. If you're in a rich community, you do. One of the big problems we have with health insurance here, which conservatives will never be able to wrap their head around or don't give a shit to, is the complaint about universal health care is, well, our tax dollars are going to pay for it. They do. Because health care is subsidized by the people who pay. The people who pay have health insurance. People who don't pay can't afford it. And where do people who can't afford health insurance go if they have a health problem? The emergency room, which is the most expensive route to go. Because we have a reactive healthcare system, right, not a preventative. So instead of them being able to go in every year and check, and we had that discussion about insulin prices, which you were talking about, which you had seen, and I tagged on, it got so bad that it happens with catheters, where people who couldn't get the proper allotment for catheters, which are single use, they were reusing dirty catheters, so sticking dirty straws.
How expensive is a catheter?
They add up if you piss 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And so again, like you live in one of these communities, right now, you and I are strapped for cash. Reminder, I'm going to plug this. You can Venmo us at any time if you like the content. We need sponsors. Sponsors I've reached out to have said things to us like, a little too racy for our taste, a little too racist for our taste, a little too judgy for our taste, a little too Jewy for our taste. I thought that was offensive. Dog.
I feel offended.
So.
But yeah, it's true. And it's funny, with the insulin, you reminded me, because I talked to my family about that, because my grandfather was a diabetic, and he was on insulin. Diabetic.
He was Ayurvedic?
He's dead.
Oh.
He's a one dead diabetic.
Oh, he's not diabetic anymore, huh?
No. And so he was on insulin as long as I was alive, at least. And I said to my parents, isn't that interesting? Like a poor country like Ukraine, so corrupt, but yet still somehow we had public health care, even though it was awful. It wasn't like the beds in the hospital wasn't updated since like 1960s probably. A lot of people died in those beds. They smelled awful, but at least you could stay in the hospital for free. I once stayed in the hospital for a month when I had pneumonia, paid nothing. I mean, my parents bribed the nurses a little bit to, for them to take better care of you, but it's supposed to be all free. Anyway, coming back to the insulin, my grandpa had free insulin. So I said it to my parents, and I said, isn't that fantastic? And they said, no, like you could get free insulin, which is Ukrainian, but it didn't do anything. It was whatever they mixed inside
Just Powerade?
Yep. Just some Gatorade.
Let's go back to
Um,
this idea of bribing the Ukrainian nurses. I want to dive a little bit into the Ukrainian healthcare system because there's fascinating things I learned. My biggest one I'll never forget, and we'll dive into it. I think we'll do a mini episode specifically on the big truck because
Dennison's little mind blowers.
because the audio, it really is. I consider myself a learned man,
No.
and you know, there's a reason we do this project. I do love all communities. I talk shit as a joke. Hyperbole is funny to me. I don't believe most of these things. Or do I? Subscribe to the Patreon to hear what I really think. Or are you not capable of doing that, you liberal cucks?
Ooh.
Stop donating money to Ukraine. We got a Ukrainian right here.
They will stop just about soon.
They already forgot. Oh my god, dude. If we really wanted to go, nobody listens to us actively enough right now. But the
So I should
Palestinian
say
shit,
that though about Ukraine, and I never say anything in public, even when I'm asked. I try not to speak about that. I speak in person if I have to, but it's very sad that I think a few days after everybody forgot, let's just call this event "Everybody Forgot."
yeah, World War everybody forgot.
The day that nobody remembered. So 2 days after this, my parents have a friend. It's my dad's best friend from kindergarten, which is, it amazes me that they're still in close contact after that, 55 years later. And he decided that he's finally moving to the United States because it really is too dangerous. The reason my parents left, they are bombing civilians every day. And the night before that happened, my mom told me that this is happening, that he's coming over. The next day I wake up and I see the news that a building in my hometown was bombed and I think 30 people died and a lot of them were hospitalized. Yet again, 4 a.m. when everybody's sleeping. It happens every day in every city in Ukraine. And so that was the story. It was his building. He's alive, thank God, but a lot of neighbors he knew died. And just kind of a quick reminder, it does happen, and it happens in an awful fashion, like a hyena move, like a sneaky little move.
Well, it didn't.
And it's definitely targeted. It's not, it's not a mistake of a missile being shot somewhere else to a strategic object. No, it's definitely a terror. So, just wanted to say it finally.
It was sobering for me because it's very hard, I think, but I know for me to picture what these wars look like, especially as an American. These obviously don't happen on our soil. The one time a terrorist attack did happen to us, it changed the course of...
For every single Muslim.
It changed the course...
Sorry.
Yeah, everyone except for Saudi Arabia who did.
Sorry.
But no, it changed course for everything in America in general.
No, yeah.
But anyways, the point is, it's hard. All you read is articles that say things that happen, but there's an article I read a long time ago. I'm sure it's actually probably a huge study, but it's about how you accidentally dehumanize by using numbers, and it's the irony of when people see 2,000 dead, it's far more poignant than 3 dead, and that happens. All we do in America is get bombarded by who is being killed by who, and half the time it's by us. So with Ukraine and Russia, it's very hard for me to visualize. I didn't quite get it. I had gone down that rabbit hole for a bit, of which of finding the drone videos and stuff, because I didn't really know what war looked like, especially in modern times, so I did want to see, and it's obviously terrible.
Because they don't usually, broadcast it as much. I feel that Ukraine war was one of the, it wasn't the first one, but it was one of the very first ones that you could see the amount of dead bodies and really the scenes of these atrocities in just pure Google. You didn't need to go into a particular news source, somewhere hidden, somewhere unknown, on Reddit, I don't know, where people used to receive their news before.
Yeah, that's true.
But it was broadcasted so roughly, it was so raw. When it started, I remember all the Telegram channels I was following, and just the daily amount of the images of dead bodies. It was unsettling.
It was insane.
I had to stop at some point.
Yeah, I had that.
I was also in shock, it was, I think
Yeah.
up till like April it lasted, that for 2 months, because my mom arrived to Athens where I was living at the time. And and again, my mom told me about all those news sites, because I didn't read the news about many things at all. Like, I just kind of abstracted myself from it for many years. And my mom showed me all those Telegrams channels, and we both were day and night. We'll wake up, have a coffee, kind of try to have a good day. Maybe I'll take her for a walk, because I lived right in front of the sea. So we will go. She stayed with me for a month and a half before I left to Crete, and she left to another country. And I think we went for a walk maybe 5 times. All the other time, we didn't do. I mean, I will leave sometimes and like go, to work and do my thing. But mostly it was like you wake up, you open your phone, and we didn't notice how the day passed. You just sit there and just refresh, update, text somebody, call somebody, make sure everybody's alright. And that was your life for like months. And then just to imagine, it's been 1.5 months now. 1.5 years of that. And for some people who are still in occupied territories, that's still a reality if they even have the reception to update and to text.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And then it's interesting you mentioned the 3 dead, and if you read it about somewhere else, or in general, like this idea of like 3 versus 2,000, but just to imagine, tomorrow you and me stepping out of the house and just finding a dead body, just one, laying there. I mean, just the amount of shock to find that,
Mm-hmm.
it's impressive. Like, I can't even imagine. I haven't seen somebody dying like in an accident. Like, I wasn't a bypasser of anything like this. But just to imagine that this can become somebody's reality, just seeing death everywhere, and then just, to compare the numbers, it's just, like, what's the weird graph out there?
Well, it definitely changes entire civilizations for years to come. But with the numbers thing too, I could name, if I felt like going through my leftist brain right now, 30 years of horrific wars and genocides caused by which factor and which. Most of them, I think, as a leftist, just become talking points. Especially like in deep leftist political circles, it's you bring up numbers as a fact about, Colombia or Chile or the global South in general to illustrate like global capitalism, the effects it has. It's, my parenti rants. But you're kind of so removed from it. It's like a very white liberal way of speaking about it. Then with Ukraine, I was angry when it happened because I have a problem with that whole regime. And going down the news holes I have, I mean, Russia, make no mistake, it's kind of crazy. Sometimes there is mincing of words, or then little clever writers right now, RIHTERS, in America, I think it's like cool to try to back Putin because he's fighting like the globalists and blah blah. Putin's another globalist capitalist. You're a fucking moron if you think he's doing anything other than trying to restore the glory of his fallen Soviet Union, which collapsed pathetically around him when he was in the KGB. That's why he's buddies with Xi Jinping and North Korea. It's not fighting globalists. It's the fucking poor kids at the park playing together because nobody else wants them because they're little bullies. But what they're doing, it's a war crime. It's a genocide, it's a target of genocide. The way they came out and spoke against it, the words they used is targeting Ukrainians, so that is genocide. But it didn't hit me quite as hard until I was with you and saw that picture of the house, because then it was very real, because I'm with you all the time, I know your family, so now I'm actually connected to it, unlike many of us were very far removed. And then Israel happened, and I went down back a rabbit hole because of our friends Omri, comedian who also toured with me. And you see that, and then you see the vitriol lobbied against certain people when it's like college students that have no fucking idea. But it's just, oh, this is progressive idea today. There's no fucking nuance.
Like with Israel, through one day, I read so much, and it shifted every single news source I will click. It was pro or against. So I was like, that is so interesting. Everybody just chooses and picks whatever they stumble. I bet you a lot of people pick it like that. They Google Israel-Palestine news. Then they see, obviously, CNN comes up first always.
BBC, Al Jazeera, yeah.
BBC, Al Jazeera.
Al Jazeera, which is Al Jazeera, unbiased. God only knows what. Do I have to bleep something? What just came out of your mouth after that, Al Jazeera?
Hello.
Oh, but
They're very much like one.
What people do is they don't go that far. They go to Twitter and they follow their favorite influencers and they wait for a doctor, professor of whatever school they like to make. They never fact check. It's just whatever tweet is written the best. And then if Taylor Swift supports one, although she seems to be pretty smart.
No, it's Bella Hadid.
Who's that?
The model who is always coming down with like a Palestinian flag.
Here's what I know. Mia Khalifa.
Is it a rapper?
No, Mia Khalifa is a porn star.
Huh.
Famous for having huge tits.
Okay.
And getting gangbanged hard.
Mm-hmm.
But she was one of those porn stars. First of all, sex work is real work. I'm a supporter. But there's like several famous porn stars who did really extreme shit gladly. But then, like 8 years after it ends, when they can no longer do porn and they have millions of dollars, they always come out and they be like, "Yeah, I'm actually against the porn industry. I can't believe how insidious it was." And then it's a jump clip.
Did she?
She didn't do it as bad, but there's a famous porn star named
Sasha Grey.
It was Sasha Grey. She was the one who came out. She was in like a
the
Twitch
one
stream.
in Eminem's music video.
Was she?
Yes. I think it was Spacebound.
Okay, so she did like a Twitch. She wrote a book too, but she did like a Twitch stream where she's on there and she's doing like an interview, and it's obviously so forced. It's like a radio. She's like, and yeah, I mean, I came in there thinking it was just modeling. And all of a sudden, they push you to do things. And then it does a jump cut to her on her knees like, "Why didn't you fucking spit in my fucking whore mouth? You pissed on me." And there's like 12 guys like, "Ah!" She's just plastering her. And she's like, and I just don't, at some point, and she's like, You're like, dude, it's fine. Like, you did it. We're all fine with it. You can have a platform, but don't do that thing.
Yeah,
don't do that thing.
I think Sasha Grey was one of the first ones who kind of stood up for the glorified sex work. She tried to glorify it, I think, and being like, yeah, okay, you can be in porn at first, and then you can shift, like you can reinvent yourself.
She didn't.
She tried.
She wrote a book and she's on Twitch.
Spacebound. That's the acronym.
Look, OnlyFans has given the power back to the people, and I'm pumped to it. However you need to make money, I could give less of a shit. Just don't do the fucking virtue signaling. It's so frustrating.
I remember Sasha
and then
Grey
we don't
became
always
like a meme back in the day. I was still using the Russian Facebook. I will not say the name. It looks exactly like Facebook, but it has a Russian name in contact.
Mm.
And then Sasha Grey was a huge meme back in the day. And I didn't understand it at all. So
what was the meme format?
I don't remember, but it was like her face and it was like a demotivator. You know, the early memes.
The motivators, classic names. Yeah.
Yes. But I couldn't imagine what it was, so I had to Google her.
She was famous for really debaucherous porn. And I'm going to say this just because this is one of the other things where I remember seeing that clip is she has porn where she uses a very specific racial term to a specific race of man and tells him to like use that blank part of his body, you blank, a lot in like multiple films, documentaries. So I think we all have this understanding, or at least I hope, especially with things like prostitution or sex work or OnlyFans, whatever it is, that it's completely valid to do. And if you tell me you do that, it's totally fine. But do not come back into society and then all of a sudden just because we're
try
out.
to whitewash yourself.
Yeah, dude. Like you don't have to just be like, yeah, I did it and I had fun. I made money. There were parts that sucked, but you know what? I made a boatload of money, and now I'm gonna go do X. But don't come back and do blog pieces, journal, and then everyone on the left is be like, that's so brave. Be like, dog, they made $7,000 a month having sex on camera. That's fine. But now you're gonna go shit all over the coal miner because he voted for Trump.
Or also,
get out of here.
By coming out and shitting on the industry, you also shit down on people who still do that.
Exactly. Like you're because you got out.
Camaraderie then.
Yes, you got out. You got out. That is and that's like classic bad workers trade. It happens even in sports or other union work, where once you've gotten your bag, you
models do it a lot.
Do they?
Oh yeah. Oh,
it's such toxic. Yeah, of course.
It's such a toxic. It's a tough industry. I lost my period because I was on a diet. This is awful. But it's like, you make $50,000 for opening a show.
Your entire platform is based around that. And then again,
this is your job.
Yes, and again, we get it. We're not saying don't point out the bad parts of the industry that they don't exist. We get that part, but have some nuance in your conversation. Yes, don't become a martyr.
Imagine if like every single manager at the middle range firm was like, yep, being oppressed.
Or how
they make me wear shirts that I like to wear. It's like, this is your fucking job. You get paid $2,000 a month. There you go.
Or soldiers, cops, or anything else. I get a lot of criticism is
if you
want to do that, you don't get to just back down on it and walk away. That's not how. That's what religious people do
you don't need
to murder Roe inmates.
To clean your choices up. You can stand up for your choices.
Yeah, you did it.
I chose it. I did it. Maybe I don't want to do it anymore because of X.
Yes.
And now I do something else.
Because also nobody believes it, except for the most left progressive people that need to continue being fed bullshit like it's a social experiment.
But also, did you notice that, I don't know if it's every society, but I notice it, I guess maybe because of media, you notice it much more in the American media. So in my mind, it's always an American society, but it's just, the way things are, I think, in the global media. The moment you get known for something you've done, and mostly if it's like something bad or, looked down upon or something that is, that the prudes would think is like wrong. Anyway, whatever looked down by whatever type of societal,
especially if it has to do with sex.
You don't get a second chance a lot of times.
There's an interesting.
You just don't pass. People don't forget, and it seems a lot here. Like this, can you just?
There's
it
interesting.
seems like a real thing here in the U.S. Like people really don't give you the cancel culture is so strong.
Oh, I'm not paying attention. This is larceny. I mean, that's our prison system too.
No, well, it's a prison system in almost every country in the world.
Well, our prison system in particular, I mean, once you're a felon, you're basically screwed. That's why our recidivism rates are so high. We don't allow people to reassimilate. We don't because our job market's not that great. We need the private labor. Yeah, it's a punishment culture. We like punishment. And cultures that like punishment.
Do you think it's like a Catholic?
It's partly religious, and then historically there's a lot of pretext. Cheers to the refill. There's a lot of pretext behind societies in disarray move towards, and you know this, but it's the punishments that's bred in circuses. So violence and oppression are encouraged under civilizations that are collapsing in on themselves, especially under fascism. So when you have us, where it's like when you feel oppressed, what's the thing you want to do? Shit rolls downhill, you oppress somebody else.
My question, when was the lethal punishment cancelled and which state was the last one?
It's not federally canceled, it's state by state.
Wait, it's still active in
Yes.
some states?
Yes, it's a state law.
Okay.
Capital punishment is state by state. So some states have it. And it's also...
Is it the southern states?
It's very dependent, it's all over the place.
Arkansas.
It's all over the place. And also
I want to see
the
it.
methods of...
I'm going to Google it.
The methods of capital punishment vary. Most states now have to do lethal injections. Some you get to choose, but it wasn't that long ago that some could still do firing squad and some could do hanging and electric chair. Electric chair was the last to go. But
electric chair is gone.
I think in Texas, they shut down Old Sparky. It depends. I mean, there's little things that can still be used. Mostly you have to do lethal injection, but lethal injection can fail. The best would be
Can it?
yes, because it's a 3 injection process.
It's interesting. I always thought if you just stick an empty syringe
But
in
so
the
here's
artery and get
lethal
some
injection
air in
is
there.
supposed to be done.
Stuff.
It's not about killing; it's about a peaceful death. So lethal injection is supposed to be a process of 3 injections.
Like morphine and.
One is, which I don't even know if they give you a real painkiller, but it's supposed to be a sedative, respiratory. I forget the terms right now because we're talking rapidly.
Mhm.
Then the third is sodium and potassium mixed to stop the heart, but sometimes it doesn't take, and they're conscious while it's happening. It's a horrific process. Death by firing squad, as long as someone gets hit in the head, thankfully, good, but it has ramifications for the people who are actually the shooters, which is why how it's typically done is one person has an active, the 11 other shooters have blanks, so you never know who shot, but still. Yeah, capital punishment's the whole thing.
But it's active in 29 states, which is more than half.
Yeah, I didn't, well, yes.
29 states.
I know, I didn't say it wasn't.
So lethal injection is currently the primary method of execution in 28 of the 29 states that authorize executions.
Is
Texas was
yeah.
the first state to use the method in 1982. In 2021, South Carolina became the first state to depart from using lethal injections as a primary execution method. Wait a minute, where did they depart to?
They had to go back to the electric chair.
I thought you said it was canceled.
No, I didn't. I said it's state by state, and I was saying I think Texas still uses it, but they got rid of Old Sparky. Most places use lethal injection. These are very up to interpretation. Sometimes the committed individual has a say. It also depends on who's governor at the time. When you're on death row, usually you make appeals for decades. So if you were sentenced to death, it could be 20 years before you're executed. You're sitting on death row, which is also the nicest wing of the prison. So it's a whole... You're gonna get me up in my prison documentaries right now, okay? There was a case not too long ago where a guy was on death row for like 30 years. He's a black dude that had been arrested for murder, probably when he was like 19, and then got exonerated after like 50, 60 years to DNA evidence where, I mean, when you go look back at a lot of those case records against like black dudes for murder or rape in the 50s, oh my god, the evidence, it's always just like, yeah, I felt like it was him, and everyone's like, case closed, and their lives are gone. And then, like
Dylan's song Hurricane.
Yeah, Hurricane. But like the defense attorney half the time will be like, I have all the proof it wasn't him. And they're like, that's hilarious, I have to go to lunch. Which is also true, very true, statistically, if you're gonna get arraigned, you never want it to be right before lunch. The judges almost always give out harsher punishments because they're fucking hungry. It's true. But yeah, they gave him like $7 million as an apology, and then he died like a year out of prison. It's fucking crazy. Which is why with capital punishment, it's one of the ones that I don't have as much of a black and white stance on.
6 in 10 adults vote for capital punishment.
Or punishment-based culture. The problem being, of course, is sometimes you're putting to death people that are completely innocent.
You know, my mom is very radical, and her point on lethal punishment is that it's not a hard enough punishment.
Well, that's what a lot of other people say, yes.
She's like, well, why would you just give them that chance? I want them to, like, really experience the horrors of being confined.
But, you know, people
and
also...
mostly she refers to people committing horrendous murders.
Yeah.
Or rape. Or, you know, like, anything that is a little bit inhuman. She feels that it's an easy getaway.
A lot of people feel that way.
I don't know. I actually thought about it a lot, and I still don't have a particular point of view. It's like, who am I to decide?
I think,
you know what I
but
mean?
then when you say who am I to decide, that basically just puts you on the against capital punishment.
Yeah, maybe I am against capital punishment. Because I think a lot of it comes down for me to the Dharma idea. So, like, you know, the steps you gotta come through, and the steps you gotta continue on your life path, the one that was given to you, and you can't just, check out. And nobody can check you out.
I can check out anytime I want.
Like, you should kind of just go through with it.
Wait, so I'm just
Like, whatever you've done,
right.
That was a choice, there's, like, action. God, stop patronizing.
I'm not bad. I'm trying to let people hear you. Cause and consequence.
Cause and consequence, action and result of an action, and it all creates a chain on a big platter of life. And I always kind of look at it as, it's like one dot. And do you remember this math thing? Like one of the first things you learn at math class in the very beginning of school is that when you put a dot, how many straight lines can you draw through one dot? Endless. That's the law of math. You can draw as many through the dot.
That is the law of math.
It's the law of math.
As many lines as you can draw into a dot. 30.
So that's what?
30.
No, you can draw as many.
I've tried. I draw big lines.
Well, thank you for diverting me from everything I was just talking about.
I believe everyone should have to continue through with the path that they're on.
I think we should continue with not talking during this podcast right now. I think it's time we finalize your knowledge of mathematics.
47 lines
It's
can go through a dot.
30 divided by 205 multiplied by 0 equals... Huh?
0.
Ah! Yay!
I know math. I know math. Greenville, Tennessee.
Okay, well, that was great. I feel like I learned a lot, and I feel that I unlearned a lot.
You did it yourself. You managed to. I've never seen someone so frequently teach themselves something and then confuse themselves out of something in the same 20-minute period as I have you. And it's remarkable. It's endearing. It's a sign of a smart individual. It's going to get kicked out of counties like this. You're gonna confuse the shit. If you ever go in front of a judge, you'll be free because they're just gonna be pulling their hair out like, the fuck? And you're like, well, the thing is, the circle and the dot and the lines. And you'd be like, we're talking about armed robbery. Like 47 lines in the circle. You dot that. Your atomic path. Your atomic is given to you. And the sky, the planets in the sky is where you
The Anunnaki.
The Anunnaki come Pleiades. It's aliens.
The DNA is not the same.
I'm a fox. My soul is in a fox. You share it with me in the great forest.
And the sacred fire. And then the armed police come. She said sacred fire.
Crazy white women in my goddamn courtroom again.
Just let her go. I don't want to see her again.
What is she here for? I don't give a shit. Get her fucking out of here. What's that black guy in here for? Get him in here.
Oh.
You could be a good defense attorney. You'd spend so much time.
No, honestly, if I don't think I would have been. It's not what I was trying to say. I think I would get too involved. Or if I decided to become an attorney when I was 17, 18, maybe they would have, indoctrinated me to thinking just about facts and not thinking about morals or not questioning.
Do you think you would have fallen in love with one of the murderers that you were trying to...
Why would I? Are you talking Stockholm? No.
It's not Stockholm Syndrome.
I wouldn't have fallen in love with a murderer.
What if they were innocent?
Well, look, should I recite this? You told me, what if I murdered? I was like, well, not good. I wouldn't have been a fan. I would have not been around you, knowing that you're capable of this. And then you said, well, if I murdered for your honor, I would have still been a little bit shook.
Well, I would never murder in your honor because I have no respect for you or anybody else other than myself. I murder for me.
I'm going to edit this episode.
No, you're not. No, you were not.
I am.
I will be editing this as I do. And there's not a lot to edit because this is a great episode. Prayers to Ukraine. Thank you for your insight on that. Mm-hmm. And prayers for everybody else. They don't work. So prayers for everybody. I don't give a shit.
Prayers for work. I pray for one.
Actually, yeah,
Again,
we get a job.
it's episode
job.
number 4. I say, if anybody listens to this point, please give me a job.
I'm gonna clip that.
He cannot deal with it anymore.
Please.
Jobless me is worse than non-jobless me.
Please give this woman a fucking job.
But a good one too.
Yeah, she speaks multiple languages.
You know what's funny?
She's tall, she's pretty.
I applied to like business development, marketing executive, sales director. Like a little bit of a nicer
Sales
position.
director?
Yeah, sales director.
Director? Barely knew her.
So I applied to those, which I do not get. And then every time a multitude of companies I've never seen send me emails saying, we found the positions you would be perfect for. Customer service agent. Customer support agent. Remote from home. $10 an hour. There you go.
And you haven't taken them?
I can make a whooping $50 in a whole day of saying, hello, how can I help you? Imagine, I wonder how soon can you get fired when they call and they say, hey, I need help. You go, I cannot help you. And just hang up and say, tick, tick, tick.
No, that's what you're supposed to do. I've been on a lot of customer support lines.
They don't help.
You'd be getting, the manager would be like, we need to have a talk. You're crushing it? What the hell?
But
We got
I really
12 complaints
wonder-
this morning.
My question is, how quick do people in HR or however those TNK companies are set up find out? Because they do record every call, right?
It's quick.
They probably get the immediate, like, dissatisfactory rating. So if you had a really bad one, you would get it really quick. But I wonder if you can hold it for a month and then you get.
That's my plan.
Should we both become just customers?
Nobody will hire me. As I've said, I'm fairly certain.
What's up? Hello.
So, like, would you like to talk about crime and punishment today? How do you feel about the Jews? And then I'm fired once again. Fired from this podcast.
I think that nowadays in America, if you say I support Israel, you'll be fine.
I will be editing this episode.
Oh.
We are neutral on Israel-Palestine. It used to be a fun little bit we do. Every time we interviewed someone, a lot of our podcasts, we'd say, what's your opinion on Israel-Palestine? Because nothing was happening at the time. And so that was a little fun bit.
Well, everything was happening all the
Shush.
time.
You don't know that. You work for customer support for Customer Bank of America.
I don't even work.
That's true. Neither of us really have a job.
Who cares then what we think?
People don't know what we do for money. And I don't want to let them know.
Yeah,
And if
because
you'd like to
everybody
know-
would do it.
If you'd like to know, DM us. And we'll charge you for it. And then, you found out. Isn't that fun? That's how pyramid schemes are done.
That was great. I enjoyed the little Ponzi episode. It was beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. No,
Oh, no.
No, Lisa.
No, you're welcome.
Lisa,
No,
thank
you're
you.
welcome.
Lisa, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Lisa, thank you. And thank you all out there for listening. You know, what makes Insert Town here our town is you. It's the townsfolk. The reason we created a project like this was because what we wanted to get to know, what I knew, was that the backbone of this country isn't written in the laws of the Constitution. It's not bred from the backs of college professors. It's not on Monday Night Football. It's not in your Xbox Live servers. It's not your tweets. It's not your Starbucks drink. It's not the car you drive, the suit you wear. It's not what your parents told you when you were 8. And it's not what they tell you when they pass away at 80. Insert Town here is about your town right now, right here. The real people, the grassroots people. People sitting at home right now saying, I don't like this and I need to make a change. I need to make a change is what I need. So what did I do? What did I do? As a comedian, as a writer, documentarian? Well, I found the most American woman I ever met. Ukrainian immigrant. Living off the backs of the American taxpayers, $1,000 a month. Because we support them out of the 99% of other countries we're not helping. And I said, let's go explore. You know what we did? No. We made fun of a lot of towns. And there's a lot more
Namaste.
ahead of us. So, to all of you out there, if you want us to come see your town, Why don't you reach out to me and you tell me? You tell me Dennison, you tell her Liza. My town, what makes this my town, is me. And my meth addict uncle.
Well, thank you so much, Dennison. This was beautiful. I appreciate you.
I'm physically nauseous right now. Why did you put cayenne pepper in the drink?